So I'd just like to share my list of Illusion Chimera. It's a deck that I've been really interested in since about Rescue Ace format. Had a phenomenal matchup against Rescue Ace, and it seems like it's a pretty solid rogue option in this meta here. To start out, we got 3 Apprentice Magician, or Nightmare Apprentice, 3 Sword Knight, 3 Coatl, 3 Gazelle, and the 2 Burferment. This is like your main engine of just how to get going mostly. I can show combos of that later, but Nightmare Apprentice, the new monster that's come out in Legacy Destruction, it is a phenomenal card. It solves a lot of the issues the deck had with playing through Interruption, baiting Handtraps, stuff like that. It's so good that you don't really need to play it with any other engine, I feel. Branded seems like a bit of a crutch. Melodious seems like there's a bit too many bricks in that. So I just play it pure. It's a phenomenal card. It has a lot of utility in the deck, as you'll see later. And the 2 honorary cards that are a part of this engine are also very important for your combos. These 2 are Diabelle's, another monster from Legacy Destruction, and Master Tao the Chanter. Diabelle's is basically an anti-spell, but a more fair anti-spell for your opponent. Your opponent has to set spell and trap cards before activating them, and is a really good way just like to shut down quick play spells, evenly matched, Forbidden Droplet, and also kind of just basically it's just a hand rip for your opponent as well, which is really nice. And then Tao is another major piece of this engine. It helps you revive illusions when sent to grave. Just a phenomenal extender for the deck. Moving on, we've got the 3 Chimera Fusion. Of course, this is your main fusion spell. You're able to grab it back from graveyard once per turn if you control at least one of these. Or the other 2 that include being named Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast. This is just your way of getting through targeted negation. It's just a great way to go for game. It's only gripe I have, but I completely understand, is that it's only in the main phase you can activate it. If you could activate it at any point during the duel, it'd be broke. Let's just put that out there. And then we've also decided to go with the Fright for Patchwork engine. 2 Poly, 2 Edgem Chain, 3 Fright for Patchwork. This is the main card that you want to see during the course of your turn 1 combos. Edgem Chain is also another phenomenal discard or just fusion material as well. And then you also just have the polys, of course. If you're seeing a poly spell, just at least one, you're typically in good hands during your game. Moving on the non-engine, we've got Ash, 3 Infib, and 3 Veiler. Now, obviously, this isn't the most you'd want to run in Snake Eyes matchups, but it seems it's worked out pretty well for me. Running at least 9 is solid. Effect Veiler is a phenomenal card you can draw off of Guardian Chimera. Ash and Imperm are just solid cards as well. Of course, you've seen everything about them. These are just like the 3 must plays in this format. And then moving on to the power, basically just the power spells. We've got Call by the Grave in QCR, 2 Triple Tactics Talents, and 2 Crossout Designator. I like running these over the probably 12 hand traps that you've seen in the Dutch Nationals list. While that does have its warrants, I do prefer having the flexibility of being able to access things that protect me turn 1, and also just use things that can help me play better in turn 1, or also just break boards as well with tactics. And then obviously Called By, because some hands just lose to Ash Blossom. And then moving on to the extra deck, this extra deck is primarily just very flexible as opposed to variants previously like Branded Chimera. There's a lot more utility cards that you're able to use because you don't lock yourself into fusion summoning as much, which I completely love. There aren't a lot of cards that come up unless like there's like a really specific situation, but when you have them, you're gonna love having them. So to start out, we have just the generic 4-card suite of Chimera Fusions. They all count as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, which is important for you getting your Chimera Fusion back into hand. It can be on field or in grave. Chimera is the primary one, the first one that came out in Dune. This is a hand rip, and it's also a banished. You can banish from grave to revive a illusion, beast, or fiend. Phenomenal. You can loop it with the Burferment, which does it in grave, but for a banished card. So typically you can go Chainlink 1, Chimera, revive whatever you need, either Diabelle's or something else. And then Burferment, you can go and revive the Chimera, and you'll have your negation live with Sword Knight and Coatl. Burferment also sends an illusion, beast, or fiend from deck to grave. This is phenomenal for setting up some of your end board pieces like Diabelle's turn 1, or some of your other side deck cards or side deck options that you choose to tech in your side deck, or maybe even in your main deck. And then Chimera the Illusion Beast. He is your main OTK enabler if you end up locking yourself into Fiends. This can use as many illusions as possible, or as many as you need, as well as a Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast. This gains as many attacks on monsters based off the amount of material that you use, and then you can swing into monsters, negate their effects, and turn their attack to 0, and then you can just keep swinging for game mostly. This card is a phenomenal card. It steals so many games that you may have not maybe won previously, so it's definitely a mainstay in the deck. Moving on, as you might be able to see, we have 2 Guardian Chimera. Just a phenomenal card. I feel like 2 is more than warranted. It comes up more often than not. And just having the second one against matchups like Kashtira kind of make them think otherwise as to maybe getting rid of this in your extra, and you're able to just like break boards with it. Just a phenomenal card for the deck, and really fits well. 2 fusion techs I have are Predator Planet Draco's Tapalia and Magnum the Reliever. Magnum has easily become one of my favorite cards in this deck. It has so many utilities in just so many different games. You end up getting like Duster or something. This is just a great way to just have disruption later. This is also just great if your opponent summons Typhon, since it's a 28 attack monster. As you can see there, you're able to just like activate anything you want, either like maybe a Chimera Fusion Engrave, targeting a monster, you can chain it, banish a fusion spell, either Poly or your Chimera Fusion, target the Typhon, pop it, and that just ends the game right there. There's also so many other utilities that I just love this card in. It's phenomenal. I love it. Now moving on to more of the utility spots. These are your main end board pieces. It's either Beatrice or Lars. Lars is a target card negation. It's phenomenal, but just to stack 6s on, get your stuff into grave really quick. Beatrice is also the same way. This also just helps you get your other end board pieces that you may end up siding. Both are just phenomenal cards. Love them to death. Definitely a great 2-hit punch with Xyz monsters. We'll also throw down the generic Typhon and SP. You don't really need SP in a lot of situations, but it's just really good to have. It's great for breaking boards. Typhon is also just another phenomenal card. It's also a Fiend, so it just helps out a lot of other ways that you may not think. You can use it in Chimera Fusions. If you have maybe 1 on field, 2 in hand, you're able to use this as a part of the material and just kind of lock your opponent out of 3,000 attack monsters or more. These 2 are phenomenal. One thing I probably would replace maybe with like an SP is maybe like a Garura, if you have like those just weird hands, or maybe just like an extra one of the Chimeras if you don't have room for SP. And then the other 3, we have Chaos Angel, Muckraker from the Underworld, and Nightmare Phoenix. These cards don't come up as much as I'd probably like to see them come up, but Chaos Angel theoretically is a phenomenal going second card. You can use Near Sword Knight and Apprentice Magician as the materials, level 6 Dark, level 4 Light as the materials, and you can target banish a card on special. This is very notable for a card like Muckraker. This helps you get back maybe your Baphomet if you need to get extra fusions, if you need to get Chimera Fusion or a extra Gazelle. It's also just good for getting back Chaos Angel. Still remembers its materials in grave, so it'll still be unaffected by monster effects, and monsters you control can't destroy by battle. Just another free target banish. These 2 theoretically work really well together, and I definitely love having them in the deck. And then the last one to wrap it off is Nightmare Phoenix. It's also a Fiend, which is also helpful. Helps you get rid of cards like Skill Drain. I've seen theoretically. You could summon Phoenix, use effect, pop Skill Drain, chain Chimera Fusion to go into something else, and that would be able to go through, which is nice. Now moving on to the side deck. This is more tuned for at least my locals, but there's a lot of tech options in this deck which allow you to side accordingly. But for the main ones, we have just 3 Ogre, and then 3 Bestials, 1 Magnemite, 2 Druid Swarm. These 6 cards are just generically solid, I feel. Theoretically, Druid Swarm is another level 6 Dark that you can use to get into Chaos Angel, and also just disrupts many decks like Voiceless Voice, Yubel, lots of different decks that use light and dark monsters. And that's also just a very good target removal. 2 target theoretically would come up really good with Chaos Angel. Can target 2 cards and basically just remove them to the field for basically free if you have a Mirror Sword Knight. We're running 2 Lightning Storm. Pretty solid, just going second card. don't see a real reason why you shouldn't play it. And then 2 Cosmic as well. Also just a phenomenal card to hit either going first or going second, as long as you aren't going into time. Actually, my locals today, I was able to just basically top deck, get rid of a Kashtira Birth, and just basically play from there. It was just a really good thing to see. It just helps. And also with Kashtira, your fusion spells obviously are spells, and that lets your opponent basically just get rid of your cards ad nauseum if you end up playing into it. These are about 5 tech cards that I have for specifically my choice of play. We have the extra cross out for going first, along with the Droll and Lockbird. It may not surprise you that this deck loses pretty hard to Droll and Lockbird. Thankfully, in this format, a lot of the top decks really aren't being hit hard by Droll, which is nice. So you're able to just kind of protect yourself in case someone ends up siding into Droll. And then you just have the one, obviously, you want to use as a crossout target. And then the other 3 are cards that I typically side in going turn 1. These include Barrier Statue of the Abyss, phenomenal card against a lot of the matchups. Snake Eyes, Voiceless Voice, a lot of other just rogue options that don't specifically run dark monsters. This is just a great send off of Baphomet or Beatrice if you're able to get to that point. And then the final one is Simul Archfiends and everybody's favorite Archfiend Harris. If you haven't seen her, if it's sent to grave by card effect or destroyed by battle, you can add an Archfiend card from your deck to your hand. So you're able to add Simul Archfiends from your deck to your hand, turn 1, just set it along with your Chimera Fusion, and you can lock out decks like let's see, Tenpai, a lot of other just link spam decks, just anything basically that uses more than one extra deck monster, they're not allowed to go into. It's still a lingering effect during the course of the turn. And then we also just have our token and our field center. So to start, I'll just go over one of the basic 1-card combos you can do with Cornfield Coatl. At the start of your turn, you can go Cornfield Coatl discard to search a Mirror Sword Knight. Mirror Sword Knight, you're able to normal summon. You're able to normal summon Mirror Sword Knight. Special from the deck, any of the Chimera Fusion monsters. In this case, we'll go with Baphomet's. We don't have any other cards in our hand. We'll use Baphomet's effect to add 2 cards from the deck of our hand, a Chimera Fusion and a Gazelle. And then we'll fuse these into the Chimera King. So you'll have a bunch of chain links here you can perform, which is pretty nice. You'll be able to go probably 1 Gazelle, 2 Chimera King to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and then 3 Baphomet, target the Mirror Sword Knight to put back on field. For next turn, you'll also be able to get another Illusion to your hand as well. We chose Diabells here. Then we'll go Chimera Fusion to add back to your hand. And with this, you'll end up having a little more as well on your opponent's turn. You'll be able to set the Chimera Fusion to your field, and also have gain a lot of other advantage during your opponent's turn. So your opponent's down 1 card, they'll start with 5. During their turn, you can go in draw phase, Mirror Sword Knight, special another Baphomet for your deck. Baphomet can add 2 more cards, so extra material, a Gazelle, and a Chimera Fusion. And then during your opponent's turn, you can use Sword Knight and Coatl. Coatl is a target negate, so if they try to Cosmic your back row, you can negate and destroy that, or any of your monsters. And then Mirror Sword Knight is a banish to negate a monster effect that your opponent controls, or activate it on field. So let's just theoretically also keep moving forward. Your opponent makes their board, maybe you probably banish the Mirror Sword Knight to negate a monster effect, which is pretty nice. Once your opponent has enough for you to maybe commit to a Guardian Chimera, you can flip Chimera Fusion and either use 2 in hand, 1 on field, or 2 on field, 1 in hand, depending on how many cards you want to pop. For this instance, we'll just use 2 on field. We'll go and add into that, and then we'll go into the Guardian Chimera. Then we have a lot of chain links here. We can go chain link 1 Chimera to pop 2, draw 1. Chain link 2 Big Wing Baphomet. We'll target the Diabells here in order to special her to the field, and we'll be able to gain advantage and also have another Floodgate on board in order to disrupt our opponent. We'll have pop 2 cards and pop 1 on the field, and then if your opponent has a spell or trap, maybe let's say they have a Triple Tactics Talents that they want to activate now, they have to set it first before activating it. So then if they choose to set that Triple Tactics Talent, we can go Diabells, target itself, and the Triple Tactics Talent to pop it, and then destroy the talents. Then you can go even further if you want. You can go Chimera, banish itself. In this case, we don't have the Mirror Sword Knight access in grave, but we could go into something like Gazelle if you want to grab more advantage. Coatl if you just want to make sure you're able to survive battle, or just put Diabells back and throw your opponent off of quick play spells, evenly matched, and a lot of other things. And then you'll still have a lot of advantage left. This is just off of one card. So you have 3 in hand, crackback for next turn, and a solid board. I'll use this combo to highlight the impact of Nightmare Apprentice in the deck and the supplementary engine of the Fright for Patchwork engine that we have. So for Nightmare Apprentice's summoning condition, all you need to do is discard a card. It's inherent summon, so it's no effect. So you just go discard Edge and Chain to special Nightmare Apprentice. You can flip-flop the chain links if you'd like. For this, we'll go chain link 1 Nightmare Apprentice to search an illusion. Chain link 2 Edge and Chain to, when sent from hand or field to grave, search a Fright for a Patchwork. So we'll search the Patchwork, and then we'll search the Coatl. So typically now you want to just activate Patchwork. Basically just a really good hand trap bait, or just to check if someone has Ash. If they don't, obviously you're able to add the Polymerization and the second Edge and Chain from your deck to your hand. So now you can go to Coatl search, and you can search for what I prefer is a Gazelle. This also helps you search illusions when used as fusion material. And now you can go Polymerization for Gazelle and the second Edge and Chain. This can help get you the Chimera King, and you can go Chainlink 1 Chimera King, Chainlink 2 Gazelle, or the other way around. This Gazelle will allow you to get Mirror Sword Knight, and you now have 2 level 6s on the board. This now gives you the option to go into something like Beatrice, or something like Lars. For this combo, we'll go into Beatrice, as it's a very good extender for the deck. So we'll go into Beatrice before we get fusion locked. We'll use her effect to send a monster from deck to the graveyard. We'll send the Chimera King because he can revive a monster from grave. For this, we will send the D-Bells. We will then proceed to summon Mirror Sword Knight. We'll use his effect to special from deck, and that will get us a Big Wing Berfomet, which allows us to get a Gazelle and a Chimera Fusion. We'll then Chimera Fusion into the Berfomet, which allows you to dump a monster from deck to grave. So we'll have a chain link here. We'll go chain link 1 Berfomet to send from deck to grave, Big Wing Berfomet, targeting either the Mirror Sword Knight or the Diabells in grave to special back. For this, we'll just go with Diabells. We'll special her back, and then we'll send a monster from deck to grave. And that monster that we'll send from deck to grave is Tau. We'll use Tau's effect to special summon a Mirror Sword Knight, targeting it to special back from grave, which will be over here. And now you're able to add back the Chimera Fusion to your hand. This also highlights Beatrice's ability as a phenomenal extender. Maybe your Chimera King gets hit with an imperm. You don't really need to worry about using Coatl unless you really want to get the hand rip out and basically have them go neg-2. You can just save it and just kind of plop Beatrice on and get your Chimera Fusion back anyways. And on your opponent's turn, you still have access to Mirror Sword Knight in the draw phase, which allows you to get another Berfomet and gain more advantage. If you also have something else you'd like to add to your end board, you can use Beatrice during the draw phase or at any point during the game to send whatever you'd like from deck to grave, this in case being the barrier statue. Then you can go Chimera, effect, target the barrier statue to special the field. This locks both of you out of summoning dark monsters. Thankfully, the Chimera Fusion, you can use Chimera Fusion on anything you'd like. In this case, we'll use the Beatrice that's been used and the King Wing Berfomet, along with the Gazelle that we've had in hand. And Guardian Chimera is in fact a dark monster, which does allow you to draw an extra card and pop 2 monsters. Not to mention you can get rid of this lock anytime you'd like with Diabells if your opponent chooses to set a spell and trap, or you can just pop the Diabells itself, or even the Berfomet in this case, in order to get the Chimera back in rotation. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you thought of the deck profile. I've fallen in love with this deck ever since Rescue Ace format. It was just like a phenomenal deck to play. Really enjoyed it. Was able to top an OTS and also get a regional top 48 using the branded variant. I hope to do more of the same in this coming format and along the course of the summer. So this will be my deck of choice primarily. I've had a blast playing it, and I hope you, if you do end up picking it up with cards like Nightmare Apprentice and Diabells that have just been as a part of the great support cards, I think you'll have a complete blast with it too. That's about it for the deck profile, so thank you.